The roar of engines echoed through the narrow canyon roads like a rolling storm, but even that thunder couldn't drown out the tiny, trembling voice that cut through the air with an urgency that didn't belong to a child. It was the kind of moment that freezes grown men in their tracks, Hell's Angels, leather-clad and hardened by life, staring down at a little girl with dirt on her cheeks, fear in her eyes, and a warning that made their hearts skip. Before anything else unfolds, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power ordinary people have to change the world, make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. This is one story you'll carry long after the screen goes dark. Her name was Emily Warren, a quiet 8-year-old girl with a heart too big for her small town and a courage she never knew she had. She had grown up in the shadow of grief after losing her father, a mechanic who spent his days fixing the very motorcycles that now surrounded her. Emily often rode her little pink bike past the lot where the Hell's Angels gathered, listening to the way those engines snarled and rumbled like living beasts. They weren't exactly the type of men people told stories of kindness about, but Emily's father once told her, never judge a person by the noise around them. Sometimes the loudest people carry the heaviest pain. She held on to those words like a lifeline after he passed point one chilly autumn morning, while Emily was riding her bike along the gravel road behind the mechanic shop her father used to own. She spotted something strange near the row of massive bikes belonging to the Hell's Angels. A glimmer. A flicker of movement. Something small and wrong. Curiosity tugged her closer until her little heart punched against her ribs. Under those heavy chrome monsters, hidden in the shadows where no one would think to look, was a cluster of strange steel devices, tight, compact, wired, and blinking faint red lights. She didn't know exactly what they were, but her father used to show her old war documentaries, pointing out the telltale signs of danger, explaining how anything with wires and blinking lights didn't belong near anything with fuel tanks. Emily felt her throat go dry. Someone had planted explosive devices under the motorcycles. Someone had planned for those men to die the moment they turned their keys. Fear crawled up her spine, but something stronger pushed her forward, the memory of her father helping strangers, even the roughest ones, simply because it was the right thing to do. Emily ran faster than she had ever run, stumbling over gravel as she burst into the clearing where the bikers were preparing for a charity ride, something no one in town gave them much credit for. Her voice cracked as she shouted, "Look under your bikes." Her lungs burned, her legs shook, and every eye, hard, suspicious, confused, locked on her. In a single heartbeat, the lot went silent. The men rushed to their motorcycles, muttering curses and disbelief until they dropped to their knees and saw the terrifying truth glowing beneath the chrome. Shock washed over their faces as they realized how close they'd come to tragedy. What followed was chaos, men tearing the devices free, shouting for someone to call the police, demanding answers, searching the shadows for whoever could have wanted them dead. And there, in the center of the whirlwind, stood little Emily Warren, trembling, terrified, but unable to walk away. She didn't want praise. She didn't want attention. She just didn't want anybody to die. The leader of the group, a towering man with a scar across his cheek named Jackson Hale, realized the depth of what this small child had done. He had spent years building a reputation as someone unbreakable, someone feared, someone impossible to sway, but when he looked into Emily's innocent, shaken eyes, something inside him softened. Jackson wasn't a stranger to darkness. He had lost family, lost trust, lost the parts of life that kept most people hopeful. But standing before him was a child who chose compassion over fear, courage over silence, and it stirred something in him he thought had died years ago. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear the explosives were the work of a rival group seeking revenge, a feud older than Emily's entire life. But the police were slow, hesitant, and unconvinced. The only people who believed Emily fully were the very men she had saved. Jackson and his crew decided they would not let her act of bravery go unnoticed. They visited her home, offering protection, help, and gratitude, but also something deeper, connection. Over time, Emily became like a beacon for them, a little spark of hope reminding them that people could still choose kindness even in a world that had tried to harden them. Jackson fixed up Emily's father's shop, restoring it in his memory. The bikers helped rebuild the broken fence around her yard, brought food to her struggling mother, and made sure Emily was never alone on her rides. Slowly, the town that once feared the Hells Angels began to see them through Emily's eyes, not as brutes or threats, but as men fighting their own battles in the only ways they knew how, and Emily, whose heart had been heavy with grief, found herself healing through unexpected friendships. Jackson told her she had saved more than their lives that day. She had saved their sense of humanity, reminded them they were still capable of loving, protecting, and being better than their pasts. The bond between that little girl and the notorious bikers grew into a legend the whole town whispered about, a story of redemption born from a moment of pure selflessness. But healing doesn't erase wounds, it only teaches you how to live despite them. Emily still missed her father every day, still felt the ache when she walked into the quiet shop. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills and the engines of the bikers rumbled gently outside her home, she felt something new: peace. She realized that sometimes, the family you keep is not the one you're born into, but the one you save, even when no one expects you to. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of the power in even the smallest acts of courage, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe so more people can feel the impact of stories like this. Before we end, I want you to comment one thing below. Tell us what small act of kindness changed your life or restored your faith in people. Your words might be the inspiration someone else desperately needs. The night Emily warned the Hells Angels could have ended in horror, but instead it became a tale of bravery, redemption, and the unexpected ways compassion can transform lives. It reminds us all that sometimes the world doesn't change because of the loudest voices, but because of the quiet ones who speak when it matters most.